Tiffany.
It's Issa.
And I'm also Tiffany.
This is the last Tiffany.
And this is TITT Talks, a podcast for modern women living in a mama world.
Welcome back to another episode of TITT Talks. As usual, you have myself, Tiffany, Issa, Tiffany, and Tiffany. Hey guys, how are you?
Hey, good.
Hey, doing good.
Hi. Good. Just surviving out here.
Yeah, doing the best we can. So we're so glad you, the audience, are back listening. This has really been such a fun venture for us, and we love having you be a part of this. So today is a special episode. We're going to dive a little deeper into what we do professionally. So first and foremost, I just want to say we respect motherhood, no matter how you mom, whether that means you're a full-time caregiver or you're working part-time or full-time. Either way, we're all queens. We just want to say that we all happen to work full-time. And on this episode, you'll learn a little bit more about what we actually do on a 9 to 5. And for you guys, I really want to hear, I guess, from you guys when you delve into your own little portion of this episode, like the challenges and the wins that you've had being a working mom. And, you know, all of us now having had children, like what challenges, if any, did you have in re-entering the workforce after your maternity? I think it'd be great to dive into that. So guys, I'll start. This is Tilo, and I am a merchandise manager for a kids clothing brand called Cotton On. At a high level, I would say I get the right stock to the right store, understanding that each store has generally a different demographic and a different customer profile, which makes them behave differently. Beyond that, we kind of read into the data to understand what influence we can provide to the buying and the planning teams so that they can manage that upstream before we actually get the product. So I have worked in retail my entire career, which at this point is like 15 years. And I started in the department stores after I graduated in college. Graduated from college, I worked at Robinson's May, which then I got acquired by Macy's. And then I've also worked at a premium denim brand called Joe's Jeans. And then I found myself at Cotton On, which I just celebrated my 7 years, which sounds like a long time.
Congrats. We love
you.
Cotton On.
Thank you.
And all your work that you do at Cotton On for the kids.
Yes.
Thanks.
Yeah.
So it's been 7 years, which I mean, hopefully tells you that it's been a good ride. I have had both of my maternities with the company, and I think in both instances, I had two different bosses each time I came back from maternity. One did not have a child, and the current one has two little girls of his own, and both of them were quite sensitive to what it takes to, I guess, come back as a mom. There is a lot of atrophy in your brain. I think you guys probably experience the same thing.
For sure.
Everything kind of just moves in slow motion, which is kind of funny until you kind of get back to reusing that muscle. But the transition has been fabulous. And I would say probably like the one thing that was most challenging was just that like my company doesn't offer a paid maternity leave. I know some of you guys have had an opposite experience, which that's so fantastic. But essentially, like, you know, I just got, disability leave, which is like a fraction of my salary. So that's like a little bit stressful, you know, to kind of have to juggle and manage when you're trying to take care of like another being. But transition wise, I think it's been quite easy. We even have like a program at our work where you basically come on at a tapered rate, where like you don't come back on 5 days a week. You do like, you know, 3 days a week for 2 weeks or so on. And then you kind of just like build your way back up. So that makes the transition a lot easier. But I've loved fashion as long as I can remember. It's been a huge fabric of my life. And I don't know. I can't really imagine myself doing anything else. funny story. They were like asking us for slogans, essentially. Like, so we've had this wild child tea, and there are so many incarnations of it now that have been fantastic because it's like, it's cheeky. You have a kid, you call it a wild child, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I got this email at the same time my boss is in a meeting, and one of the buyers sends us a message, and it's like, hey, how does rat bag sound? And like at the same time we texted each other and we're like, what the fuck, rat bag? And apparently that's a term of endearment in Australia. Like they call their children rat bags. And so like it's essentially like our job to kind of audit. To make sure that like stuff like that does not appear.
You're like, no one will buy that. Trust.
Exactly. it's like thank you so much for asking, but no thanks.
Yeah.
It's a hard no.
Yeah.
So that was a really funny thing that happened. So there's like a lot of fun stuff that happens. Sometimes it's stressful. Like right now, obviously, retail is being hard hit because of COVID-19. So we actually have been closed, I believe, since March 16th in some of our markets. Today is May 3rd. So we've been closed for quite a while. And next week, we're actually opening or reopening, I would say, our first stores in Texas, Utah, Minneapolis, and Florida. So we're starting to get there, kind of get back to a little bit of normalcy. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't change anything. I've had more time with the kids, obviously, with the stores closed, and it's been a blessing in disguise. So in a nutshell, that's kind of what I do. And I'll pass it on to Isa.
Oh, wait. Before you do, let me show you. So we just got like $200 of Cotton On stuff.
Are those PJs or is that a Captain Planet tee?
Yeah, so this is a Captain Planet. Michael got like 20 shirts and 30 shorts for her from Cotton On.
Oh my God. What size is she now?
Size 4.
No.
Wow.
Okay, so that would be perfect because Tess is moving into 5.
Oh,
So
good. Give me all her stuff.
Exactly.
Kennedy is growing so fast.
Exactly.
She's a large human.
I have to say, Cotton On PJs for babies are the best because they zip both ways.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that makes all the difference when you have a newborn.
Yeah.
I know.
for sure.
I remember those bleary nights when you're like, get the snap onto the romper, and then you snap it wrong, and you're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
So it helps. The double zip definitely helps.
Wait, how many brick and mortar stores do you think you've actually been in?
Oh, I don't know. There are some that I've still never been in Southern California because it's not worth my time. Like Point of Hills is one of them. But in the kids chain, we only have like 32 stores, but the adults chain has like over 100. So I've been in Florida, Texas, and Utah, and obviously California so far.
In Australia.
Oh yes, Australia. Yeah. So yeah, it's been a fun ride. And I don't know. I think like it's interesting being a mom. I would say like you kind of. I don't know if you guys had the same experience, but I was when I came out of college very gung ho. I'm like, I'm going to do this. I want to become a VP. I want to become a director, whatever it may be. And then you become a mom, and then your priorities just shift. And,
for sure.
And I think for some people, and I'm just not one of them, you still can, you can have it all. It's very possible. But I think like just the way things worked out for me, Dave at the time was working a lot of hours. And it just, this job ended up being flexible for me so that I could basically be primary caretaker and also do my job at the same time. So I'm very thankful that this has afforded me that opportunity. But, you still wonder, like, sometimes, like, oh, should I be doing something more? Like, I feel that way as the kids kind of are aging. And maybe it's because my kids are, like, older than your guys's, I guess. Like, I kind of, like, am feeling that way. Whereas, like, you guys are on your first, going to have your second, still thinking about your second. But I don't know. I think everybody's experience is different. But that's kind of where I am. But I don't really know where I would go. Retail seems like it's a dying beast, sadly.
I mean, we'll always need it, I think. And it just seems to evolve, So I think you'll always be needed in that sector.
Also,
industry.
I was laughing really hard inside when you said Tessa was aging. She started.
She is. She's turning 5. I can't believe she's turning 5.
Earlier, I was telling somebody that Sana's going to be in the double digits, and she's like, she's turning 1. I'm like, she's going to be 10 months.
It's just nice too.
Yeah. Well, I am in commercial real estate in the multi-family sector. So it's mostly apartment buildings, some retail. And I started as a property manager, and I actually made some shifts back and forth into assistant managing to kind of get the growth that I've had now. So when I actually first started in college, I started working for a attorney because that's what I thought I wanted to be in real estate and for developers. And this was prior to the housing bust of 2008. So I worked for him between 2004 to about 2008 when everybody was getting laid off because nobody was developing anything. And I learned that I didn't necessarily want to go to law school. And then I really liked, what I was doing. And so when I was let go, I actually took maybe 8 months of fun employment time
Yes.
to explore what I love to do artistically. And so I religiously went to dance classes at Millennium and Edge and Debbie Reynolds in LA and was trying to make that work for me. I made a bunch of amazing friends, but the term starving artist is so true. And I knew that I didn't want to do that because honestly, before I even went into college, I was like, oh, by 25, I'm going to be this huge, successful something, like Tilo said, VP or director. You have this idea in your mind that you can go, when you're young, that you could just do it in a snap. Not the case. You need experience, education, all of that. I think by now we all know that. And so I took that little time off. I was probably like a really great girlfriend at the time because I was like cooking all the time, grocery shopping. I was like, I had to keep myself busy. And Jake was in school. So I think I was amazing. He might not remember, but I was.
You were. Still are.
So then that happened in 2008. In 2009, I actually started working for one of the developers that I, worked on his CC&Rs with. And he ended up not converting to condos and had about 5 buildings downtown. And this was prior to downtown being the shit. Mm-hmm. So I moved downtown into a loft. It was amazing. Had crazy good parties every Halloween.
Yes.
Had an amazing patio on 5th and Spring, right next to Exchange, really close to a bunch of bars.
Oh, those were fun times.
I know. It was perfect for the age that we were, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
Which I'm not going to say, but it was perfect for that age. And so I realized dancing wasn't going to cut it for my wallet. So I went into property management, which is funny because my mom was always in this industry and I just never took to it. And I just kind of found my way into it on my own. And so what I noticed 3 years working for this one developer is that I wasn't growing, that my suggestions weren't being taken. And so I thought, okay, it's my time to go or my time to leave. And then I actually ended up going to a very big REIT is what we call it in the industry. And they're just a publicly traded real estate investment firm. And that was a nightmare. So I was with them for 8 months and I'm really dedicated. Like I will stay with your company for a very long time if I feel like I am growing, I am learning, and I'm being appreciated. And I think that's true for everybody in all of their professions. And so unfortunately, my second day in, my manager went on leave to have a boob job. And this was like a 2-month leave. And in 3 months, I had 3 different regional managers during that time. And then in the end, when my manager came back, couldn't hack it, she wrote me up on her last day. Yeah, it was unreal. And then, 2 weeks after that, even though I loved the new interim manager, who was a manager from another property, I took a step down from property manager to assistant manager to grow with this huge company, I just was like, I can't take this anymore. This is not professional. I'm going to separate myself from this company. And I actually went into unemployment again.
Fun employment.
Fun employment. And that only lasted a month. I actually got to temp for a bunch of different companies, and I got to see what I liked, how great companies were working in the industry and not so great. So I ended up with a position being an assistant general manager for 2 properties and really growing under one of my favorite bosses I've ever had. I learned a lot from him. These 2 properties totaled like 600 units together, so it was a big job. And I felt like I really tackled it. And so I was there for about a year and a half when I got an opportunity through my mom. One of her bosses, who she's worked under for a very long time, opened his own company, and all he had was a 62-unit live, work, loft property for me in NoHo, and it took me a long time to sign on because it was I've been going up and down, and so I took that job because otherwise I wouldn't have left. I loved my boss. Took that job hoping that it would give me growth, and it totally has, because now I am associate asset manager for the company. We've grown so much. I grew into a district manager, into a regional manager, into portfolio manager, and into the position I am now. So I think it's just important to know that you can take these turns, these step forwards and back, as long as you know your goals and you know it's going to bring you there. So I think, I just wanted to say that because it's important to be strategic about your career, but then also do the time, because I think now, especially in this atmosphere environment, a lot of people think it just it does happen in a snap, I could watch so many YouTube videos and know what I'm doing, but really experience, especially working with people, I think brings you, and working under people, mentorship is so important. Yeah. So I just wanted to say that. But yeah, now I'm in asset management. I've spent 5 years with my company. Actually 5 years on the 25th of May. So
wow.
I heard really I'm getting an Apple Watch, which I'm so excited. I hope I didn't jinx it, but that's what my colleague got, so it would only be fair.
That's a great milestone.
I know. Congratulations.
Yeah. Got more vacation time,
Yes.
All the big girl things. But so yeah, you may take steps forward in your career or, make departures from an industry or anything like that. But as long as you have your mind on what you want to do, you'll get there. And I think another important thing is work-life balance. And, when I first graduated college, you want to be that executive, you want to be that CEO, maybe even. But I think as you grow older, and this happened before I had Sana, my little baby girl, I realized that even though I want to be this big wig or whatnot, there's definitely a balance where I still want to have me time, time in my life to pursue the things that I love to do, to be with my husband, and not work too much. And so I think you get to that balance too, because when you're really young, you think if you get to that executive level that they don't work as much or as hard. But with every promotion that I've gotten, it has been more and more work.
Same.
And yeah, it takes more of your mental, the mental load is more. And so the grass looks greener. It's not always, and you really just have to find that balance of where you want to be. Yeah. So I think I'm where I need to be. I don't think that I want to be a VP. I see how hard she works, and I'm like, maybe not. Yeah. But Sana definitely drives that home because, Tilo said, it's important to spend time with family. This is a great time to spend time with family. And I can only imagine, you know, when she starts school and like has, I don't know, she might be in band or like choir or like sports, you know, and I want to be there for
and you
her.
have to be
so
there. Yeah.
Yes. You know, and we actually just got our new employee handbook, and it gives you time to go. Like, I'm so impressed. It's
Wow.
40 hours that you get.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's not normal. That's great.
Yeah.
I don't know where that came from. I don't know, because honestly, to go back to coming back from maternity leave, I did take extended maternity leave because I did have to work through postpartum depression and some other physical things that I had. And so I was out for 6 months. I was lucky to get disability throughout that time, but I didn't get additional pay through my work. And then also, I have to say, my husband's company was really great in that they gave him 6 weeks full pay. So he even actually got more pay than me, and I'm the mom, you know what I mean? I'm the one that gave birth.
Exactly. Baby came out of you.
Ridiculous.
Right. Okay. I got 1 stitch. Okay for that? No, I'm kidding. But yeah, so, you know, I think it's important to have a good company to work for, but I still have leave left over that I'm exhausting. Sometimes I will work if the workload needs me to. Mm-hmm. And so I guess that's just a balance, you know. I feel like we're all like, I don't think I'm a type A. I don't think I'm quite there, but I'm almost there. So I will work if I feel like nothing's going to get done, right? I still have leave and I have to take it. And my HR guy just was like, hey, we need to really talk. It's going to come up on July and I want to make sure you get this time. And so I thought that was really nice, the way that he approached it. And I get that when I was coming back, he was new, and that probably led to the bad communication at the time.
Yeah.
And now he's so much more better. So I have forgiveness in my heart for how I felt back then.
That's good.
And I was actually supposed to take 3 weeks to go see my grandmother, who is 97, turning 98 in June. Wow. And due to COVID, you know, I haven't been able to take that time, and that was 3 weeks of leave. So I feel like they're working with me every time I reschedule it. I just had to cancel the flight that I was supposed to take this weekend because we changed it to May 2nd.
Been moving it, right?
Yes. And so now they're like, we are not going to change your flight. You're just going to get a credit.
Oh, no. And you guys got such
I know. We got such a good deal. So I might dispute it with my credit card. But anyways.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Let us know how it goes.
Looking into that stuff.
Oh, that's a great journey that you've been on. And I think like one theme you probably touched on that I think like if we have any younger listeners would be relevant is probably the networking part. And I'm pretty sure all of us have had that same experience where it's like you really do need to build up your network and utilize it because it really does come in handy. Like in your case, like you had a really good mentorship, and then your mom also happens to be in the industry, and you've kind of went from one place to another because of the connections that you have. We all went to UCLA, and that particular alumni association is also very strong. And every single job that I've gotten from UCLA on forward has been because of a connection that I had with a different company and just the networking that I've had. So like that base is actually very, very important and relevant as you continue to build your career.
Yeah, and I think it's important that you said that it takes time, because I think a lot of people now are expecting immediate gratification, and that does not come from networking and mentorship. Like, it's going to take some time, but it is going to pay off soon.
Yeah,
immediately.
Sooner or later.
Right.
I mean, I'll jump in next because I also have kind of like a topsy-turvy career path as well. So I started off, so I was an English major, which is like the perfect springboard to everything else. But like as an English major itself, it usually doesn't amount to anything. So I started off as a real estate agent, but I definitely did not have the discipline to do what is required of a good agent, like networking. I was definitely very immediate gratification focused. So I ended up getting a real job with real hours and actual pay. I lost so much money being a real estate agent. Oh my gosh, I have like...
You have to invest in yourself
You
a
do,
lot, and it
and those
takes
signs
forever.
are expensive.
You have
Those
to wear
signs are...
costumes and throw parties and bake cookies.
Yeah.
And was that like sprung from what your dad does?
Oh yeah, for sure,
Yeah.
for sure. And I think because he was flipping properties during a time where it was very lucrative. So I thought like, hey, this is going to be really easy. So I became a real estate agent in 2008, 2007, 2008, like right when the economy crashed.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it was just like lack of discipline, bad economy. It was just bad news all around. And to be honest, I think it was my parents that were like super worried, and they were talking to my aunt, and they were like, "Hey, this girl needs help. Like, you need to find her a job somewhere." So I ended up working at my uncle's company in Irvine. It's an energy efficiency firm, and I became a case writer. So I was a writer, and then I turned into a project manager, doing mostly program management for like solar installations, and I was writing a lot of case studies. And then what I think I enjoyed most from there is the managing of different entities in a very general sense, like basically taking a lot of different parts together and creating a cohesive plan and giving it to everybody else, which is basically marketing and communications, right? So I ended up doing Marcom for USC. And then from there, I realized like I was in student affairs, and student affairs is so great. Noble profession. But again, Issa, the wallet thing, like doesn't
Yes.
pay too much. And then I started fundraising at Stanford. But then what I realized there is while fundraising is good money, it's not good enough to live in the Bay Area. So then I started working on the side, like moonlighting in ed tech. And I was working for Udemy, which is it's an educational startup. Well, actually not anymore. Now they've got like 2,000 people. But when I started, there was only like 40, 50 people. And it was an amazing experience. And I think it got me into that space of like developing programs. So now I'm back at USC working in alumni relations and annual giving. And while the purpose is to raise money, I think what I'm really good at is like the rolling out of new programs and really kind of generally putting together communication strategies that would work well. Like if you give me a goal, I'm really good at creating a plan to like meet that goal with a lot of unwilling people. So being persuasive, so being like a good persuasive person to get everyone on the same board, be really like energetic and just like generally be a positive person to bring people together toward a common.
You're an influencer.
Yes.
But a project manager as well, right? Like
Yes.
Is that what I'm hearing?
Exactly.
This brings to mind your influence in Vegas.
Yes.
You would wrangle like 40 of us, get us in the door before any line, get us on a table, like the best nights.
Or like
The
LA
best.
club nights.
Yes.
True. It's true.
She is talented, guys.
I'm like,
Thank you.
This is perfect for.
I'm glad you're getting paid for it now.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
I'd be
Thank
like,
you
"Take
so
my
much.
money. Take my
Oh my gosh, it's so funny because I too have a portfolio, but it's a portfolio of people that I'm supposed to like be face to face and fundraise with, but that is not the part I enjoy. I enjoy like I enjoy like the planning and like the behind the scenes like boring nerdy work and like putting together like Tableau dashboards and like presenting data analysis. Like that's fun for me. So I'll save the persuasive parts for Vegas when we go back in 2021.
Yeah, whenever
We
that
do
may
not
be.
mind.
with our sexy masks.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh. So
Yeah.
true. So true.
Is there anything else you're going to add?
Yeah.
This is cute. I guess I will jump in with my story and my profession. I am a business litigator, a lawyer. I passed the bar in 2009, my first try.
Woohoo!
That was really glorious because that test sucks. And my journey to becoming a lawyer, let's see. I went to UCLA. I had no idea what I really wanted to do because all I was focused on when I went to UCLA was the fact that I had freedom. And I will say, I did not do very well in school. So I went in as an econ major and I changed to history. And then people were like, well, what are you going to do with a history major? And I was like, I guess I'll go to law school because I think that's what people do with their history degree, unless they become like a history teacher or something. But I never thought I would become a history teacher. But lucky enough for me, now knowing myself, I feel like being a lawyer is exactly what I'm supposed to do because it's very fitting with my personality. Like, in the way, for example, I structure my arguments. If I have an argument with Glenn, my husband, it's like I can compartmentalize certain facts and make them fit into my argument as to why I am right. I'm wrong sometimes, but very rarely. But yeah, and it fits into the way I like to plan what I need to do and structure my month or my week or how we need to plan for our next girls trip. Like you girls know when we go to Vegas, it's like, okay, well, have to find the hotel, have to get the best price. We have to all get in by 10 a.m. so that we can get ready for an hour before we hit the pool party at 12. And then we have to prepare to leave at 2:30 so we can be in our hotel by 3:30 and then take a nap and then.
I do appreciate that.
Yeah, no, I'm very willing to the subject. Abide by that timeline.
I think it's great because we only spend 24 hours there, and that's enough.
Yeah,
right. Yeah, we can't be wasting any time. Like, we can rest, but it has to be within a certain time frame.
Yeah.
Girls, do you remember when we used to spend 3 days there? 3 days?
I can't imagine.
That was insane.
We need to have a podcast or like an episode just on our Vegas.
You're right.
So we'll add that to the list. So I've been practicing for it's so crazy. It's like since 2009 and we're in 2020. I'm in my 11th year of law practice.
It's more than a decade.
That's
awesome.
Every year you find out what you don't know, which is so much because the law keeps changing. And it's funny, like when my bosses will be like, hey, can you research this basic or this seemingly basic legal issue? I'll think, shouldn't you know that? You already know that? But it doesn't quite work that way because the law is always changing. I will say, with regard to challenges, I work at a small firm. It's 4 attorneys, and I am the only woman. I am the only minority lawyer there as well. So I think I'm lucky enough to work with 3 pretty great guys. But, sometimes it's like they will make statements that, they don't intend to be offensive. And, you take everything into consideration. They're not trying to be offensive. But it's like, well, let me try to woman-splain,
Why you shouldn't say it.
why you shouldn't say certain, or like why the reality might be a little different from your reality. Also, in litigation, you kind of have to do what you need to do to when the situation calls for it. And luckily for me, I haven't had to pull many all-nighters. But sometimes you just have to. If your opposing party is going to do something bad, you have to just go in and file that emergency application to stop the bad guy from doing what they're going to do. But I will say that I am blessed because I find it to be very manageable. That wouldn't be possible without the help of my parents who live very close to where I work. And you guys know, I talk about my parents all the time, and I couldn't do life without them. I don't think they love my son, and I mean, I don't want to say they love him more than me, but they love him more than me, and they're so nice. my mom, who, Mrs. Chuget, bless her heart, she'll be like, I don't care about you. I only care about Kai. Like, with regards to when we went to Hawaii, I don't remember when Hawaii was exploding with the volcanoes and the ash getting everywhere. She was like really worried that the island that we were going to, which was Maui, was going to be affected by the Big Island, and she was like, don't go because it might affect Kai, but it was way too far. But stuff like that. So, anyways, they will do anything for him, and I can drop him off whenever I want and pick him up whenever I want, and that really helps with the litigation world. I think I'm also pretty blessed by the lack of guilt that I feel sometimes. Like, sometimes I think I feel too much guilt, but like with regard to work, not with regard to like life. But I see all you great moms, and I know that you wonder like, oh, should I spend more time with my girls or my husband? I feel like I don't get that. Doing like a great job. Like, I know I would love to spend more time with him. There's always that, but I mean, I think I give him attention.
Yeah. That's the lawyer part of your brain that you've trained, the compartmentalization of like unnecessary emotions.
Yeah. Thank you. I can at least recognize that like I for sure won't do something if I don't want to do something. Whereas I feel like other people in their they're wanting to be a good friend or a good daughter, a good wife, they like might put themselves out so that they can make someone else happy. I think I'm very good at not doing
You are.
You know what? You are. I have to say, and I can't actually think of a specific example, but just throughout the years, I feel like, I don't know if you would call that integrity, maybe a little bit, but it's like, you're very much like, no, this is what I'm going to do, and this is right, and that's how it's going to happen.
Self-integrity, yeah.
Like, you're really good about that.
I think it's just being true to yourself, and that's hard to find, because even with work before Sana, man, I was a workaholic. Like, you could tell me to fly to the Bay Area like 3 times out of the week, and I would be there up and back. Or, like just on the fly, or I just work till like 10. I mean, I know we've all, worked really late nights or 14 hours days or whatnot. Now I am a chook. I am like, nope, gotta go home, bedtime, sorry. And I'm not working after bedtime because that's me time, So she's definitely helped me like draw lines. And I'm like, why did I not do this before? And now I feel like, you know what, all that extra time I spent, that was then already paid. Exactly.
That makes me so happy because we all do well. We all work hard. We're all caring. We're all good people. But at the point where like you're gonna ask me to do something that like that encroaches on my own time or my own happiness, I don't think so. But I think I will say it in a very nice way that like, thanks, but no thanks.
You do that really well.
All in the delivery.
Yeah. So I think that really helps with my work-life balance, which I can say I have a nice life and I'm not afraid to admit it. I work hard. I have a good, supportive family. I know that I get a lot of help and I'm so blessed for it. But for the most part, I love what I do. I love being able to help people. And also, I think with being a lawyer, I've learned a lot of lessons, and I've been able to kind of use my skill to help like family and friends. One of the hard lessons I've like learned throughout my law career and helping friends and family is that, unfortunately, if you're not familiar with like principles of law or principles of equity, you can get railroaded. You can get, unfortunately sucked into a situation you don't deserve to be in. Like, for example, like, not to pat myself on the back, but I will. My dad and my brother, they own some properties in Florida where, we live in California and my brother lives in Singapore. They just have these investment properties, and they have the properties that my dad and my brother owned are subject to an HOA, and they're not there. So there was one time where, the HOA kind of screwed up and like sent certain notices to the wrong address, and then my brother had a lien on his house that was like totally baseless. So I had to spend some time like doing a little bit of research about like Florida law and just exchanging some correspondence, where I was thinking like, if they had to pay a lawyer to do this, that would have been like several $1,000s worth of work and unnecessary stress. I was able to resolve it for them, and honestly, we should receive attorney's fees, but
yeah. I mean, you were able to resolve a bogus $2,000 charge off of a Joshua Tree Airbnb. Was Joshua Tree?
Yes.
Yeah.
That was very impressive.
Yeah.
That's just like, that's just doing what's right. And that's another thing. I feel like people have this like picture of lawyers that are, the one that you see in movies is like kind of sleazy, like always looking for a buck. But, with one of my bosses is such a great guy, and he just comes from a place of just good, like do the right thing, practice the right way, practice ethically, and then you'll get to where you need to be, or people will respect you, and you'll never have to like look back and try to get out of a situation you never should have got yourself into. And that's another thing that I've learned in my practice is like be realistic about like the good facts of your case and the bad facts of your case, because the bad facts will always come out, and that's in life. So like when it comes to telling like a white lie or a big lie, it's like you just learn that if you're gonna be dishonest, someone's gonna find out, and then you're gonna look dumb. So might as well look dumb up front. And then
this is a lesson for our husbands as well.
Don't lie.
Yeah.
So with respect to like Chuk and Ticha, like what about like your transitions to motherhood, like within your roles? Like did you find it particularly difficult, like the onboarding back to work, or even just, balancing work as a new mom when you did go back? Like any nuggets to share there?
Well, I was really lucky to be in education, where I think there are a lot of other people like me. I think work-life balance in universities are typically a little bit easier because they do want to retain a lot of their staff and faculty. And so for me, the only challenging part was the 4-hour daily commute. So like the pumping was a little bit difficult, and the first month I was getting up at 3 a.m. to pump, and then I would feed her at 4, and then I would leave the house at 5 to get to work by 7. So it was a lot. But my boss was really understanding, and I was able to do 2 half days a week. So it was actually pretty comfortable. It wasn't easy, but it was more comfortable than I think a lot of other women have to go through. So I was grateful for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I have to agree, because I work at a small firm. There's 4 attorneys, so there's like the main partner, and his wife is like the everything else that we're missing at the firm. She's like the HR, the business office, and she was so cute. Like when I got back to work after I took a 3-month maternity leave, she had set up like a little curtain to block out like we have these small like these windows that are probably like 2 feet wide, and they go from top to bottom, and she set up a little curtain so that I could close it for when I had to pump. And it was there. She set up a little couch like for my pumping station, which I never used. I just put papers on it, but the thought was really nice.
Yeah, only a woman would think of that, honestly.
Yeah.
I can't see a man doing that for you. There'd be no curtain with a man.
No.
And I feel like our generation has benefited greatly from what the older generations had to go through. Like they weren't so lucky, and like people looked at them with disdain when they oh, gross, pumping and boobs and milk in our fridge. I think I recognize that we are very lucky to have that the accommodations are not so rare now, if that makes sense. And
Yeah.
I think that really helped a lot with my transition. And other than that, like I think working at home, it's something that you have to learn and deal with, but eventually you get used to it, and you just roll with the punches.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of
So,
just have to with
yeah.
everything in life.
I also think I have like great mentors, like Tilo. Tito's a great mentor too, but like Tilo, you were the first to like go through all these things. So it's like, we have, this picture. It's like, it's going to be hard. And it is like life is hard. It would be so nice to just have everything taken care of for you. But it's like, we very much have the mentality that like, just do what you got to do and we'll just get through it. And then at the end, it's like, we can look back at all our hard work and admire what we've done and with our positive attitudes. But yeah, I
think like when you do something you love, there's really no lack of work ethic. I think, you know, like if you actually like what you're doing, like you'll have the drive and the passion. So
Yeah.
I don't know, guys. I feel like every time we do this, I learn something about each of you that I didn't know.
Me too.
And it's so great. It's so great.
I don't know how I didn't know Ticha was a real estate agent.
I know.
I did not either.
Did you not see
That's
my
how
signs?
good she was at marketing herself.
It was a blip.
Do you still have a license? Do you keep that?
You know, no, it actually expired 3 years ago because I was just done. I was done like renewing it. And you have to take a test every 4 years, I think. And I was like, forget it.
No,
Too much
thank
work.
you.
Yeah.
It would be so crazy to drive by like a property that's being listed by Ticha.
Oh my God, no, my dad did. He was selling a house and he didn't have any signs of his own. So he used one of my signs like 2 years ago. And so one of my friends called and was like, Tiffany, are you listing a house? No.
He just had a sign in his trunk of your face?
No. It just says Tiffany Tay with my cell phone number.
Oh.
He just like whited out my cell phone number, but it's like Tiffany Tay this direction. Like go here to see house.
I
that's
love it.
That's pretty funny.
Well, thank you guys so much for this conversation. And thank you to our listeners. It's been great. And I hope you guys, enjoyed listening to a little bit more about us on a personal level. The whole purpose of this podcast is really for us to shed some light on our own relationships and our own experiences as modern mamas living in this world, and hopefully you guys identify with that and you enjoy listening. So we hope to see you guys here with us next time. And in the meantime, if you can, we'd appreciate a 5-star review on iTunes. And if there's any topic you guys want to hear us talk about or discuss, or if you want to chime in, feel free to reach us at tittalks@gmail.com. And we also have an Instagram account where you can reach us too, and that's also TITT Talks. So thank you guys again, and we'll see you next time. Bye, guys.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.